Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG. We got more leaks for today, starting on the 18th of January for Phyrexia. All will be one. We got some juicy ones. Even the staff has popped up finally, so it's gonna be pretty sweet. So, before we get started, don't forget to sub up, try and get to 1,000 peeps, and I appreciate the support. So, in the meantime, while we're doing box opening videos, let's take a look at Phyrexian All Will Be One. So, first card we have is Mesmerizing Dose. 2 blue and 1 for a uh, common. Enchantment or enchant creature enters battlefield, tap enchanted creature, then proliferate. Enchanted creature does an untap during its controller's untap step. This is your basic blue removal spell that we get in every set in some way, shape, or form. This one has proliferate attached to it, which is pretty cool since that's part of the theme here in this set with poison, toxic, oil counters, and the whole 9 yards. Not to mention planeswalkers. Next, we have Vanish into Eternity. So, white and 2 colorless is instant. Now, this spell costs 3 more to cast if you target a creature, so that's 5 mana. But for 3 mana, you can exile a target non land permanent. Even at common, I think this is kind of playable. Maybe not so much in standard or other formats, definitely in Commander because it's a remove all spell, except for land. And if it's not a creature, it's only 3 mana. So that's a pretty good rate. Um, I I think this is going to see play. The more I think about it, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about situations you would use this. It's kind of like a disenchant for 1 more mana. That for 3 more mana you could kill creatures. And even not a disenchant, I'll be honest with you. Like any non-creature permanent. I mean, we're talking it destroys. You exile planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts. Um, it's really multi-purpose. I really think this is going to see play, depending on the formats, and probably definitely in Commander should be a one of. Next we have Anoint with Affliction. So black and one instant exile target creature that has mana value 3 or less. That's already good, but if corrupted, exile target creature instead if its controller has 3 or more poison counters. So as a common, this exiles something 3 or less. It's 1 more mana than Final Push, but it says exile. This is going to be big and standard because of all the graveyard shenanigans. And if you get poison counters on somebody, 2 mana to exile a creature, one black, one colorless, is absurdly powerful. I think this is definitely going to see play in standard, and maybe some other formats too if they're using poison, because this is a really good removal spell. Next we have Hex Gold Slash. So for 1 red instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature has toxic, it deals 4 instead. Um, Not the best spell. Um, it will be removable for limited and probably standard, especially in standard. Which, if we move to a format where a lot of creatures have toxic, 1 red to deal 4 damage to a creature is amazing. The only drawback is you can't deal damage to anything else but a creature. But maybe it would at least see sideboard play. It seems like a good card in a format, depending on how that format plays out. Next, we have Carnivorous Canopy. So this is your basic green N2, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. However, it has the benefit of if the permanent's mana value is 3 or less, you get to proliferate. So a little better than your normal common, just because it has bonus text on it. And I think we're gonna see. We've already seen a lot of this in previous cards. I think we're gonna continue to see these kind of benefits in the Phyrexia All Will Be One cards as they come out. They'll have these pseudo effects of if X equals Y, you get to proliferate or have an extra ability. So it's kind of like a power creep without getting all the power at once, unless you meet certain conditions. So it's kind of cool how they did it. I do like that. Next, we have Resistance Reunited, white and one instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 to end of turn. Equip creatures you control gain indestructible to end of turn. Pretty interesting for an uncommon. Good combat trick. There are cards that can be equipped in this set. So technically, an equipped creature would get +2/+2 and indestructible. But I think the benefit of this one is giving something +2/+2 to live, give other creatures who wouldn't indestructible. Um, so that's my take on it. I think this will be a great limited card. Limited card. But unless a lot more and better equipment doesn't come out, I don't see. I think it's going to see a lot of playing standard. Next we have Minor Misstep. That's right. Counter target spell, mana value 1 or less. So it's only one blue though. So the benefit to this is not Mental Misstep where you could use Phyrexian mana to counter target spell. Because that was the big thing of Mental Misstep. What got it banned was the fact that you had to pay mana for it, so you could actually do it on the first turn. It was really crazy. But this seems really good. Um, but this looks more like a card that's going to see play in the older formats like Modern, Legacy. I mean, maybe Brawl or something like that. But I don't see a lot of use for this other than the older formats because not a lot of things are going to cast for 1 or less in the current environment, especially in Standard. Um, but I do think this is going to have its place, and I think it will be a powerhouse in the older formats. Next, we have Necrogen Rot Priest. So black, green, and 2 for 1/5, Toxic 2. Whenever a creature you control with Toxic deals combat damage to a player, that player gets an additional poison counter. Black, green, and 1, target creature you control with Toxic gains Death Touch in a turn. I think we've already previewed this one. But one of the things I'd like to mention about this is 1 damage for 2 Toxic means 5 swings for the win. Um, also, you can give itself Toxic, and the red removal spell, it does 4 damage, can't kill this. So, depending on how formats play out, like I mentioned, it's going to be really interesting to see what cards rise to the top and what go to the bottom, depending on what's being played. Because even though this is 4 mana, I mean, killing somebody on turn 9 in Standard is not the best, but it's not that bad either. Next, we have Mirrodin Safe House. 3 colorless, all as long as Mirrodin Safe House is in the battlefield, it has activated abilities of all lands and all cards. Like I mentioned before, we have the picture now. Kind of interesting how that kind of looks like Emrakul. Anyway, I know Emrakul's in everybody's conspiracy theories. Anyhow, um, it's interesting. I don't think this means mana ability. I'm gonna have to check because if it means mana ability, this is probably one of the best mana rocks that there will be. Um, except for the fact that it doesn't tap for anything, it's not a card in your graveyard. So, but one thing I would like to mention, this will have activated abilities of things like fetch lands. You know, if you have fetch lands in your graveyard, you can use this to fetch, or anything else that lands do. Um, so it's kind of interesting how this is going to play out. I see this being more of a card for Commander, just because of all the shenanigans that go on. Um, but yeah, I think this is a pretty cool card. Next we have the Staff of Completion. That's right, guys. We found it. It's here. So this is a very interesting staff. It's a mythic. It's 3 colorless. So you tap it, pay 1 life, destroy target permanent you own. Fair enough, I guess. I guess the good thing about that, someone steals your stuff, you can kill it for 1 life. So I guess there's a point to that. Tap for pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color. That's a little brutal. Tap, pay 3 life, you get to proliferate. Tap, pay 4 life, draw a card. For 5 mana, though, you get to untap the staff. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I do like the fact that they made it pay life instead of deal damage. That way, it doesn't get around things like, you know, effects that let you go below 0 or prevent damage taken, so forth and so on. But I do see a possibility for this to have some very interesting combo effects because it untaps for mana and then you proliferate with it and you can add mana. And if you do have something in play, it lets you not die, like, let's say, Angel's Grace. You could proliferate onto a Steamkin. I'm just thinking the first thing off of mind. which will give you 3 mana when you take 3 counters off of it. Um, that still doesn't really add up though, does it? Very interesting. We're gonna have to hit the books, guys, to figure out a way we can break this card. So, all right. So that's all the spoilers we have for today. I'll see you later tonight in case any more sneak out, or first thing tomorrow morning with all these sweet spoilers from the new days. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit up my eBay store. The links in the description along with my Patreon. And until next time, be kind. And as usual, I hope to see you across from the game table.